Hello and welcome to Excellence Classes. I am Rahul Nandavani and the topic which we are going to discuss today is interconnected with the previous chapter, Theory of Demand. The theoretical portion of this chapter will be discussed in this video and the numerical portion will be covered in the next part. Before that, I would request you to please subscribe this channel and press the bell icon for the latest video updates. Now we all are aware that there is an inverse relationship between on price of the commodity and its quantity demanded, and due to change in on price of the commodity, the quantity demanded by a consumer may change. So in price elasticity of demand, we will study the degree of change in demand of a commodity owing to change in on price of the commodity. Now the next and the most important topic of this chapter is methods of computing price elasticity of demand, as it is a numerical portion, so it will be discussed in the next part of this video. Now there may be 5 stages where the price elasticity of demand may rely, which are known as degrees of price elasticity of demand, and these degrees are perfectly elastic demand, perfectly inelastic demand, unitary elastic demand, elastic or relatively more elastic demand, inelastic or relatively less elastic demand. Perfectly elastic demand is a situation in which demand continuously increases at a constant price. It shows that elasticity of demand is equal to infinity. A slight change in the price can change the demand for that commodity. The shape of demand curve in this scenario is a horizontal straight line parallel to x-axis. This can be seen in the figure 1. The horizontal straight line in the figure represents the slope of line is equals to 0. It is a situation of perfect competition form of market. Perfect competition is a form of market where there are large number of buyers and sellers of a commodity. Homogeneous product is sold in this kind of market and the prices are determined by the forces of demand and supply. An individual buyer can have no impact or control over the price. That is why the demand curve in this situation is a horizontal straight line parallel to x-axis. On the other hand, perfectly inelastic demand is a situation in which demand remains constant even when there is change in on price of the commodity. It represents that elasticity of demand will be equals to 0. The slope of demand curve in this scenario is a vertical straight line parallel to y-axis. This can be seen in figure 2. This situation may be experienced in the monopoly form of market or in the case of very essential goods. Monopoly is a form of market where there are large number of buyers but a single seller. Due to the inavailability of more sellers and less competition, the demand remains constant and represents a vertical straight line curve. The next one is unitary elastic demand. It is a situation when there is proportionately equal change in both on price of the commodity and its quantity demanded. Professor Marshall treated it as a situation of unitary elastic demand. It shows that elasticity of demand is equals to 1. The shape of demand curve in this scenario is a rectangular hyperbola. For example, if there is 10% increase in on price of the commodity, there will be 10% decrease in its quantity demanded. Another one is elastic or relatively more elastic demand. It is a situation in which there is greater percentage change in quantity demanded due to lesser percentage change in on price of the commodity. It represents that elasticity of demand will be greater than 1. In figure 4, the slope of demand curve is flatter because of greater percentage change in quantity demanded owing to lesser percentage change in on price of the commodity. We can experience this scenario in the case of luxury goods. For example, if there is 10% decrease in on price of the commodity, there may be 20% increase in its quantity demanded. On the other hand, inelastic or relatively less elastic demand is a situation in which there is lesser percentage change in its quantity demanded owing to a greater percentage change in on price of the commodity. It represents that elasticity of demand will be less than 1. Figure 5 represents the slope of demand curve is steeper in shape due to the lesser percentage change in its quantity demanded owing to a greater percentage change in on price of the commodity. We can experience this situation in the case of necessary goods. For example, if there is 20% decrease in on price of the commodity, there will be 10% increase in its quantity demanded. So our next topic is factors affecting price elasticity of demand. Price elasticity of demand is high or low depending upon various factors. The first one is nature of commodity. On the basis of nature of commodity, the goods are categorized into two types. First one is necessary goods and the second one is luxury goods. Necessary goods are textbooks, medicines, food items, etc. In the case of necessary goods, demand will be inelastic because even if the prices of these goods goes higher, people may not stop demanding these goods. On the other hand, in the case of luxury goods, for example AC, cars, etc., demand will be elastic because a slight change in the prices of these goods may attract more consumers who can now afford these goods. In the case of complementary goods, for example motorbikes and petrol, pen and ink, etc., demand will be unitary elastic, which means that there will be proportionately equal change in the quantity demanded of a commodity owing to change in on price of the commodity. Now the next factor is availability of substitutes. If there is availability of substitutes for a commodity, for say tea and coffee, Pepsi and Coke, demand will be elastic because the consumer may easily shift to the alternate good due to a slight rise in price. But if there are less or no substitutes available for a commodity for say alcohol, cigarette, then demand will be inelastic. Another factor which affects price elasticity of demand is multiple uses. Now its name suggests the idea that if a commodity has multiple or variety of uses, for example milk, electricity, etc., demand will be elastic. Let's say the prices of milk start falling. Milk has variety of uses. It can be used for making butter, curd, etc. So people may start buying more of milk, which signifies that demand will be elastic or more elastic. On the other hand, if the commodity has a single or few uses, demand will be inelastic. Now the next factor is postponement of use. If the consumption of a commodity can be postponed, for say, if a person wants to purchase a car, so he may wait for the prices of cars to fall and will purchase it when the prices are less, which will make the demand elastic. On the other hand, if the consumption of a commodity cannot be postponed, for say medicine, demand will be inelastic because the consumer purchases it no matter what the prices are. Now the next factor is habit of consumer. If the consumer is habitual to consume some commodities like alcohol, demand will be inelastic. On the other hand, if the consumer is non-habitual to consume some commodities, demand will be elastic. Another factor is income level of buyers. If the income of the consumer is high, demand will be inelastic. For example, if a rich consumer wants to purchase a commodity, he will purchase it no matter what the price is. On the other hand, if the income level of the consumer is low, demand will be elastic. For example, a consumer with less level of income will wait for the price to decrease to purchase a commodity. Now the next factor is proportion of income spent. Goods on which consumers spend a small proportion of their income like toothpaste, newspaper, etc., demand will be inelastic. On the other hand, goods on which the consumer spend a large proportion of their income like clothes, shoes, etc., demand will be more elastic. Another factor is price level. Elasticity of demand is low or inelastic at lower level of price of the commodity. On the other hand, elasticity of demand is high or more elastic at higher level of price of the commodity. Another factor is price level. Elasticity of demand is low or inelastic at lower level of price of the commodity. On the other hand, elasticity of demand is high or more elastic at higher level of price of the commodity. Now the last factor affecting price elasticity of demand is time period. In the short time period, demand will be inelastic. On the other hand, in the long time period, demand will be elastic because long period is long enough for the consumer to change his or her consumption habits. Now the questions on factors affecting price elasticity of demand can be asked in two formats. First one is direct question, which is explain the factors affecting price elasticity of demand, and the another one is in the form of case study, which is more preferred by the examiner. For the first question, you will have to memorize any 7 or 8 factors headings only, and for the body content, you will have to clearly understand the meaning of elasticity of demand, less elastic demand and more elastic demand, and then write the content on the basic logic and your thinking. There is no need to memorize all the content, just read the content once or twice, and this will also help you in attempting case study based question also.